National Association of Black Women in Construction and Investment Club education meeting. Today is the 14th of April, 2026. And we're going to go ahead and first of all, we're going to open up with a prayer. If someone would like to bless us with the prayer before we open the education meeting, please. Thank you. Doretha, you can read prayer, please.
Good morning. Let us go to God in prayer. Heavenly Father, we thank you for another day. We always give you glory, honor, and praise. As we move into our Nabwic Investment Club education meeting, we ask that you would give us wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. May all of the information that we provide today serve as information for those who may be listening and need some clarity on how to invest and the things we should do to have a successful life financially. These and all blessings we ask in your name, Jesus. Amen.
Thank you, Doretha. Okay, Carolyn Modeste is going to be our first presenter. Carolyn. And while she's preparing, just want to make sure everybody understands that we are an investment club. It's for educational purposes only. We're not promoting selling or buying any particular stocks. We're just presenting investment education information. Thank you. And thank you, Carol.
Good morning, everyone. So I'm reading, it's from an article of the April 2026, Better Investing. It speaks about pay down your debt, smart strategies for credit cards and student loan. It talk about know your numbers. I know this is something Ms. Ann always talk about, know your numbers. So before you build your plan, you need to know exactly what you're up against. Gather the non-mortgage debts. You need your credit card, some have student loan, personal loan, list all the balances, the interest, even down to the minimum payment. This article spoke about two choices that you have. They call it like a weapon, a snowball or avalanche. So the snowball method, you will list the debts from the smallest to the largest, and you'll make minimum payment on all. But what you will do, you on the smallest debt, you will do make extra payment on the smallest one, those. So then that will go away, and then it will move to the next smallest. The theory behind this is that the method is like a it's like a momentum for you to see that your debt disappears, and it gives you a positive in reinforcement. The avalanche method is, again, it lists all your debts by interest rate, the highest to the lowest. You make payments on all, your minimum payments on all. But in this case, you're making extra payment on the debts that have the highest rate. And they said this method is aimed at reducing the debt that inflicts most of our financial pain, and it takes time. The avalanche method wins. You pay less interest. Overall, you will pay less interest. This also helps build a sustainable, what you need to do is build a sustainable budget. So you will check your income and the expenses to make sure that you're able to make your the debt payments on a regular basis each month. Make sure and pay it out, and start looking, because most of the time when we have debt, we try to figure out, oh, maybe we should get an extra job, or a part-time job to help with that. But what you could also do is start maybe looking at your financials. Look at if you have what you're spending, where your money is going. Because sometimes you might have subscription for years, paying for subscription, and you don't even use it. Maybe that you need to delete that one. So in that way, you captured that money in order to pay your debt. And And the goal is if you can pay off your debt for basically within your 5 years, because most of the time that it exceeds your debt exceeds if your debt exceeds 50% of your gross income, then it's time to make alternate changes to your spending habits and everything else. So I just wanted to share that information with you. Before I leave, you can also sometimes you have credit cards that will have that transfer your debt into this credit card, and sometimes it gives you a 0% to make the payment. Maybe that is something you might want to look into also, but make sure and read the fine words or the fine prints, because sometimes you might think it's for a year and it might be just for a few months. So make sure and read whatever you decide to do. And that's my report, because this year we need to pay down our debt for those who have debt. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so very
Thank,
much for that, Carolyn. Thank you. All
yes,
right, next up.
thank you. And I'll go next. This is
Thank you,
Doretha
Doretha.
Dennis. Yes. And Carolyn, I just wanted to say I read that same article. There are several things that I highlighted there because I do need to pay down some debt. Also in that magazine, that is the BI magazine, the April edition. There is a section in that magazine called Book Value, and the author uh, of that article, Angie McQuaid, writes an article every month, and it is wonderful. She presents a book every month, and last month she presented How to Be a Rich Old Lady. I enjoyed that. I didn't get the book, but I am going to get that one. This month she presented the book My Mother's Money. Oh, just a wonderful book. I ordered the book and I downloaded it on my Audible platform, and I've been listening to that too. I went through a similar situation a couple of years ago with my family where we had to take care of our mother's financial affairs, and it was um, it was quite interesting to realize that we did not have things in place that we really needed to put in place. Um, the title of this article, Role Reversal, author shares personal look at the challenges and lessons of financial care. The author of the book, Beth Pinsker, wrote this because she had to take on the role of the financial advisor of or caregiver for her mother, who was aging, and realized that there was a lot of things that needed to be put in place in order for this to be a smooth transition. There is a portion of the article that talks about it's hard to use power of attorney. Wow. And I was thinking, well, the person who has power of attorney has, the position to take care of all of the matters. But it turns out, according to her name again, Beth, this isn't always the issue. Um, that you have to sometimes the IRS has something different in place for you to do. Medicare has another set of paperwork and documents that you have to fill out. And so I found this article really inspiring, gave us an opportunity to get a book that we can use to help guide us through our financial caregiving. I'm getting ready to get this book and share it with my daughter so that um and my husband and I, we're in our 70s, and we want to get all of this in place before time is at that point where we'll need that kind of care. Just a wonderful article, a wonderful book. I advise all of you who are getting ready to move into that stage to get this book to share with your family. Thanks for allowing me to share that.
Okay, that's a great article, and I love the book. This is Valencia. I'm going to be going into the Better Investing, the April 2026 edition. And for those who are out there who don't really understand what the Better Investing magazine that we're referring to, it's part of your subscription once you decide to become a Better Investing uh, member, in which I can't say without. This is one of the better things that I have that I get every single month, and that it has become a pillar in my husband's area, because he will take peeks in it and he will read it. So that is one thing that I keep it out, and I keep it out specifically for that reason. I collect them, and I've had them ever since I've started. But one of the things that I'll say prior to me going into the article that I've chosen, which is determining a stock's reasonable price, and this is how you use the PE ratio to identify relative value, which is part of the evaluation process before you start your SSG. But this gives you a glimpse into before you even want to start the SSG, to know whether or not is this stock, am I paying too much for it? Because what happens is that the PE is just really taking the price, and taking the price earnings is the price divided by the earnings per share. And this is a good way of measuring. Now that I've in some of the trainings that I've gone through, they've said they don't really look at it. But then when we first started, they don't really look at the amount. But hopefully I can give you an insight to what that should look like in terms of, we usually go by a 20 to 25 PE value. And we look at it from 5 to 10 years, and we take out the outliers based upon the highest to the lowest, the ones that are uneven, that are not pretty much consistent. But once you get into the SSG, you'll get an idea of what I'm saying. But this is the significance of the price earnings, the PE ratios. This particular article, it is on page 32 of the April 2026 edition. And it starts off with determining the price to earning ratio. And then it actually goes into understanding the reasonable price, what is the relative value. And then it concludes on page 35 and gives you an idea of what that PE should be. One of the things that I love about this magazine, which this is my cheat sheet for myself, and this has worked in my advantage because I'm going to kind of go off the grid a little bit. Each time I get the magazine, I immediately go all the way to the back of the book of the magazine, and I go to reviewing past stock to study in undervalued selections. This is where I purchased my Synchrony stock a few years ago, because they had it under the undervalued stock. That stock has since doubled plus and has still been steadily growing. And I have not looked back. So these are one of the areas that I'll go, and actually do an SSG, take a look at it, see how many clubs may have it, and to see if and I'll go go to the Better Investing website. I'll see who's done did a stock evaluation on it. Those things help me to understand a little bit more about where I'd like to go. How did they do the evaluation? Which way? And I always do an SSG for myself, so I can get an idea of what that actually looks like. But going back to the article, but that was my little cheat sheet, but I wanted to share with everybody. But the article is so great that I really, if you get an opportunity, please do this, because the PE was it was much so difficult to really why do I need the PE? Why do I need the PE? And I remember starting out, and I'm glad you did the book value. I was starting out on my doctorate, and I was going towards the PE and book value based on acquisitions, and what happens to the company that is acquiring versus the company that was being acquired, and how did that book value? What happens to the book value of that stock, and what happens to either stock? Because at that moment, you have an opportunity to gain when you hear about acquisitions, because information is very important when you're selecting stocks. And so one of the things that I wanted to give a calculation and determine the price to earning ratio. It says a price earning ratio is calculated by dividing a company's stock price by its earnings per share, which is the PE. PE equals price divided by earnings per share. At $15 per share, the PE ratio for a company earning $2 per share would be 15 divided, which is the price, 15 divided by 2 equals 7.5. Meanwhile, a company with the same stock price of $15, but the earnings of $3 per share would have a PE ratio of 5, which is 15 divided by 3 equal 5. So even though the price per share is the same in absolute dollars, investors are actually paying more for the $2 earner, the PE ratio of 7.5, than they are for the $3 earner. This is a crucial component of understanding reasonable stock prices. But then it goes on to page 33 to kind of give you a great better insight. We are looking for reasonably priced stocks as in RV no higher than 110%. Again, the calculation is simply the stock's current PE divided by its average PE. In the example figure 1 for Amazon.com, the calculation would be 33.8 divided by 47 times 100, which is 71.991%. When the RV falls within the range of about 70% to 110%, you have probably found a company that is selling at a reasonable price, and you can begin conducting a full analysis using additional tools found in the SSG to project future growth rates, future PEs, future highs and lows, risk reward ratios, and total return and more. I really wanted to share that because that beginning that can be so intimidating. But this is one articles that I really enjoyed, and I also enjoyed the debt ratio. I actually have that application with the snowball and the avalanche that I received a couple of years ago, and I've used it periodically when I see my debt getting out of control. And right now it's under control. But that is really interesting. That was also not mentioned that if you're paying 25%. For every 1,000, you're actually paying $250, opposed to if your portfolio you're only earning an average of 16%. That means you're only earning $160 per 1,000. So the goal is to leverage that out and bring that back and pay down the debt so that you can actually have the difference between the two and bring it down to where you're actually that 160 is not greater than the $160 that you're receiving in investment return is not lower than the debt the interest and debt that you're paying at 250. So if your debt is like $90 and your return is 160, yeah, you're still on the good side of it. But the goal is to eliminate the debt so that you get to 160. I'm sorry for being long-winded, but these are things that I'm passionate about. I love. These are the things I live, and I love sharing it with you. And just one more thing before I go. Tomorrow is the last day for you to catch up on if you didn't make all your contributions of last year, or you want to open up an IRA or a Roth IRA for someone or for a custodian. Tomorrow is the last day for you to catch up on last year, which was last year's 8,000. This year's 8,600. But you can actually do it all at one time, so you don't have to kind of be at the last minute for last year. But the 15th is the last day that you'll be able to make the last year's contribution to help you with your tax liability. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank
Well,
you
good
so very
morning.
much. Go ahead, please. Thank you, Nicole.
Good morning. Nicole is sharing. So this year, I've really been focusing on educating my kids about money. And we've been following a couple of stories, reading a couple of books, and just really getting them engaged in financial literacy. And so the article that I recently read, the financial topics parents find most difficult to teach their teens. This is in the April edition of the New York Post. This article honestly made me pause. It said that most parents don't feel comfortable about teaching their kids about money. And then I realized, well, most of the time we're just figuring it out as parents. And so, it's not uncommon for us to teach and learn at the same time. A recent survey of parents with teens found that they typically struggle or find it challenging to talk about budgeting, more than 52%, more than 48% of those surveyed found savings to be a difficult topic, and then 37% just overall understanding of credit. Now, these were eye openings, not just for me, but also for my teens, because the article further identified that more than 25% of teens don't have either a savings or checking account. And when I say teens, I'm thinking of those that are typically anywhere from 13 to 18, 19. And then more than 33% of them have either never seen a credit card or don't know how credit cards work. And so it really shared the idea that a lot of parents are unprepared to teach kids about money. I remember having a conversation with my oldest stepdaughter, probably about 10 years ago, who actually did not know how to take money out of an ATM. Now, that can be a good thing or a bad thing, but, and she was 27 at the time. So, as I said, this year I've been a little bit more intentional about educating my kids so that they can learn about money, be responsible with money, and have some practical experience. So, the article initially starts off just with financial literacy. And one of the tools that we use is for this past Christmas, I bought them Melanie Hobson's book, Priceless. Oh God, I think it's like Priceless Facts About Money. And you may know that Melanie is, I think she's a partner with Ariel Investments. The book is amazing. It gives such practical, what is it, like cute insights about money. It really dives into its value, how it was created, what is it used for, and the kids have been enjoying reading that book. My kids are 12, 16, and 17. And so at home, what we've been doing is we've been going through, how money grows, how it's managed, how it's investing. And we've been having real serious, intentional conversations. This upcoming May, all of my kids will be working in a summer youth program where they will be paid on a biweekly basis, and the money will be deposited into their checking accounts. And so this is going to give them the much needed hands-on experience, not just the talk. We've talked about, and the article also talks about how to track their spending. They each have debit cards. Every single purchase, well, the debit cards are the Cash App cards. Every single purchase at the end of the month, we've been going through their statements and talking about, if you spend $3 on a soda and $4 on a sandwich, how money essentially is being spent. And they've been learning a lot about savings and investing. One of the things that the article talks about is the gaps in investing, the now versus later concept. And so we've been looking at, each of them have identified 4 companies that they're interested in investing in. We've been going through the ownership of those companies, walking through some of the language around investment. Valencia mentioned the PE ratio. We've been talking about trending, the earnings ratio. We've been talking about growth and what that looks like. And they don't understand everything, but these are small conversations that are consistently building on the idea of financial literacy, investing, savings, and overall being responsible with money. So right now they're practicing budgeting, even with the income that they're going to make. We've established how much they're going to save, how much they're going to invest, how much, for us, how much they're going to tithe and give and how much of it they plan to utilize for their own personal benefit. So what I've been doing is very simple. It's, we've been all learning together, and consistency, I find, is the most important thing. They're at an age now where it's hard to keep their attention on money, especially if it's not spending it. But I've seen some growth in their understanding. I haven't, One of the things that we are going to do is to have them bring some recent knowledge that they may have learned from somewhere. It could be a practical example. My son purchased V-Bucks or something for a game. And so we'll talk about, the value of and the cost versus the value of the game that he's purchasing. So overall, it just validated that learning about investing and financial literacy can be a family affair. We've certainly taken that road to be inclusive and sharing with them everything that we know so that they can find practical ways to engage in sharing their knowledge. And it's been working. So that's pretty much all I have to share.
Thank you, Nicole. Next.
Thank you. So I am going to be sharing an article that I actually read on the Better Investing website. It was under the investor education articles, and I thought it was interesting time with today being the day before the tax deadline. It's under the taxes, and it's called Company Stock Grants and Your Taxes. And it's from January of 2023, but I really found the article interesting, and the things that it talked about very meaningful for right now. And I'll just jump right in. So it's talking about company stock compensation, like your restricted stock units, your incentive stock options, and your employee stock purchase plans, and how they can be powerful for your wealth building as a wealth building tool. But the tax treatment varies significantly based on those three options, and just misunderstanding those can really lead to a unexpected tax bill if you don't handle them properly. So it talked about how with the restricted stock units, you'll receive shares after a vesting period, and it's taxed as ordinary income at the vesting time. So the value of your vesting is the taxable income that you have, and then your future gains and losses are capital gains and losses for that. So the takeaway from that is the restricted stock units, RSUs, are the simplest, but they're the most immediate. They're most immediately taxed when you get them. So that's one of the things to look at there. With the stock options, there were two main types of the stock options that it discussed. It discussed the incentive stock options, the ISOs, and then the non-qualified stock options, which are the NSOs. Being the ISOs, there was no tax at the grant or exercise for regular tax, but the potential alternative minimum tax was provided then at exercise, and it was a favorable long-term capital gain if the holding requirements were met with that option, versus with the non-qualified stock option, discussing how it was taxed at exercise, and it was the difference between the strike price and the market price. So it was treated as ordinary income. So basically, the ISOs was a tax advantage potential, and the NSOs was simpler, but it taxed earlier. And then the employee stock purchase plans, the ESPPs, buying company stock at a discount. So the tax depended on how long you hold the shares. So qualified disposition yielded better tax treatment. So disqualified was more tax on as income. So basically, the timing of your sale in this option can have a major tax impact. And just the key things that I think would be helpful in understanding here would be kind of identifying the difference between the ordinary income and the capital gains. And the ordinary income, they have higher tax rates, so it's like your salary, where the capital gains have the lower rates if you hold them long term. And then the holding period matters on these. You have your long term where it's greater than a year, and it's a tax advantage. But if it's short term, then it's taxed like your regular income. So anything less than that, and then the risk of double tax, and paying your taxes at vesting and exercising, and again at the sale if you don't track it properly to make sure that you're handling them the way that you need to. And just common mistakes that it discusses in the article that investors make is not planning for the tax withholdings on the RSUs. So one of the other mistakes it mentions is exercising options without understanding the AMT impact, selling too early, so they're missing long-term gain benefits, and then holding too long, so overexposure to one company. And the takeaways that I have from this is treat the company stock as part of your total portfolio and don't let it become too large of a percentage of your net worth. Um, plan ahead for tax events like plan ahead for tax events, whether it's vesting, exercise, and then sell. And then consider working with the tax advisor for the complex cases, because sometimes you just need that extra set of eyes to ensure that you're strategically placing yourself in the best position financially when it comes to taxes. And I thought that this article was very appropriate for the time that we're in right now as we are preparing to close in on our tax season. And it was important to me because this was the first year that I really took a look at this, even though I've invested in plans in the past with my employer. This was really impactful. So thank you for allowing me to share.
Very good. Okay, my name is Sharon Jackson. I'll go next. And I didn't mention when I introduced myself where I was from. So I am currently located in Southern Illinois, Alton. All right. So one of the things that I have been doing is attending the monthly Learn to Earn. I don't know how many people have been doing that. And this last session, they provided another way in the Better Investing site to be able to see different ways stocks to invest. A lot of us already know, and you may know about this also. It was an eye opener for me. We always use the stock selection guide, okay, and that is great. But the site also offers this thing called FinBiz, FINVIZ, I believe. Anyway, so I'm already in a stock, which is something that I'm watching. I've already put in an option, haven't quite gotten it yet, but so I'm already in an SSG. So if we go to research, then we go to analysts, there is FinViz uh, estimates. Okay. So what it does, okay, after you go to FinViz estimates, you will be able to go to naturally the screener, okay? And this brings up like 11,000 businesses. So naturally what we do in everything, we start screening what kind of stock we're looking for. Well, the next thing is you're going to put in the fundamentals. Naturally, we always deal with the fundamentals. Okay, so this starts screening the types of companies that you're looking for. So let's put in PE. We're just going to say we want something profitable, okay, greater than 0. We'll do okay, now this dropped the number of companies that we're looking for from 11,000 to 3,100. So now we're going to go to PE. And so let's do PE and we'll say over 10%. We can do forward PE over here, and we'll also say profitable. Okay, I didn't mention even the over 10% dropped the number of companies that we looked at down to 1100. Yes, 1,169. So let's just say, what am I doing now? Forward PE. We'll just say profitable. We'll go down to margins, net profit margins. And I'm going to put in over 10%. Didn't drop it down. Okay, this dropped it down to only 500. Now let's do return on equity. Right here. And again, we'll do over 15%. Last one is return on investments. And we'll say over 10% also. It's dropped it down to 227. We started off with over 11,000 businesses, and now we are down to 200. Well, it's 200 still a lot. You can still tweak all this, okay, if you like. But what starts happening is that it gives you different businesses that we know are on a good platform for us to start looking at. There are businesses that we're naturally going to jump out at us and that we'll see, okay? Number two is Apple. Of course, it's alphabetical, but Apple, Airbnb, Adobe, which is something else I need to look at. And so you're just going to look at, I would pick those that have a good PE. We've already learned about that today. The price and the change is positive rather than negative, and their volume. And I'm just saying it gives you another platform in addition to the stock selection guide to find other stock. Okay. I just thought that this was just another tool to use good businesses to invest. The gentleman that is a gentleman that leads Learn to Earn, um, actually said that he found businesses that on here even before the SSG and other places, and he's been able to find these businesses before they even got on the radar. So I just thought that this was another thing that we can use, and that there's something that we can use in our toolbox to be able to find good businesses. Okay, that's it. That's what I want to share. I'll stop sharing now.
That is a great share, Sharon. Thank you for that. I love it. Thank you.
Okay. I think I was the last person.
All right. Thank you so much, everybody. This has been phenomenal. Just want to, again, thank everybody for being willing to share. It is 8:02, and I have a how to use the portfolio tools, but I am going to, Carolyn says, thank you, Miss Sharon. Thank you, Miss Sharon, Miss Mia, Miss Nicole, Miss Valencia, and Miss Doretha. I think everybody can see it was just a phenomenal sharing today. I'm going to go ahead and wrap up with this portfolio reports video from YouTube. And we have been sharing a lot of educational information. I know some of us have to leave. It is already after 8 o'clock. And so what I will do is I would just play a small portion of this, and then we'll call it a day. Thank everybody for joining. And if any of you who are listening to this are interested in participating with Better Investing, you can go to betterinvesting.org, and there is a 90-day free membership at the very bottom of the website. If you're interested in becoming a member of the National Association of Black Women in Construction Investment Club, you can go to nabwic.org and just search Investment Club, Better Investing Investment Club, or Nabwic Investment Club on the website. And the information for how you can join us is there. Better Investing also have an opportunity for you to join a club there, or you just may be interested in investment education, and you can do that too by going there. So can everybody see what I'm sharing before I start?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Perfect. So let me turn on the speaker and let me giving the fresh prices. Okay. I have too many audios on here, so I'm going to go off this audio and just go ahead and let the video start playing. Any other questions or comments? We prepare to wrap up. This is Ann McNeil. Sharon Jackson is our president of this club. I want to give her a big shout out and thank you for your leadership, Sharon. Nicole Allen is our vice president. Dorika Dennis is our secretary of the club and portfolio manager. Yes, and just want to thank everybody. I'm going to go ahead and play this video. But any other club comments before we wrap up? Because this would be the last. The video would be the last voice everybody hears. Any other questions or comments from the members before we wrap up? Not hearing any. Okay.
Will only see the one button and that's all you have. But I'm just going to say it's a great place to start as you're learning. it's a good one. It's a paper there with a little corner folded over. That's how you go into the reports. It's just that easy. So adjacent to the portfolio you want to review, click that button and I will get all the reports for demo. Now, just a reminder, it's always best to refresh your portfolio data. So you're looking at the very most recent information before accessing the reports. That's this button. Refresh the portfolio data. That will give you fresh prices. All the data, the underlying data will be up to date. So here we are. When you click on that portfolio reports button, this is what you might see. Here's our report options up at the top, and we're actually looking at the first report. Get into that in just a sec. Let's look at those options. So the first one is the summary report. These are our three flavors of reports. The summary report is available to all of our tools subscribers, core and SSN Plus subscribers. The PERT and diversification reports, these are available to SSG Plus subscribers only. So if you're a core SSG subscriber, you will only see the one button and that's all you have. But I'm just going to say it's a great place to start as you're learning. It's a good one. All right. So also I want to point out that you can tell which one you're looking at because the button that you have pushed turns green when you are displaying that particular report. All right, well, let's take an quick introduction to the summary report. So really what we're looking at for this report is you get one row of data for every stock in your portfolio, every one that you have added to the portfolio. You're also going to get a set of metrics for the total portfolio displayed at the very top of the report. The report data comes from your saved SSGs. I'll probably say this multiple times, but it's so important. That's where we're drawing the data from. We're not making this stuff up. It's from your saved SSGs. And the valuation metrics that are displayed on the report, they reflect your judgments. And while it is not required, it is highly recommended that the SSGs in the portfolio are complete, meaning that all your forecasts have been made. This is necessary to see all the columns to be populated. If it's an incomplete SSG, it'll still have list a line, but some of those columns will just be dashed. There won't have any data in there. You'll be alerted if some of your data is a little old. Anything older, stock prices that are older than 7 days are displayed in red. This is a great report to review maybe monthly after you've updated your SSGs. That kind of coincides well with an investment club schedule, or maybe if you're an individual investor, you have a monthly routine to take a look at your portfolio. Once a month would be great for this. And I like to use the summary report as a bit of a source of buy ideas. If I have some cash I need to deploy as investments, sometimes I want to go shopping in my own portfolio, and I'm going to use this summary report to show me where the best places to put that money might be. All right, so there's the summary report. I know it's kind of small on your screen here. I'm going to blow things up as I can, but you do have the slides in the handouts, and when you're looking at a PDF, you can always enlarge those and really get a good view. I'm pointing out here that the portfolio totals are displayed at the top in this red box that I've got here. Now I did blow that up a little bit, so make it a little bit easier to read. So this is telling me that overall, for the whole entire portfolio, I have about $57,000. And then it also reports a weighted average for the upside downside ratio and the total return. So overall, I can expect this portfolio to return about 13%. If you look carefully at the data, and we'll get to that, some are higher, some are lower, but the overall total return for the portfolio as a whole is about 13%. Now, the bulk of the report, the main body of the report, is all about the stock data. So you've got one row is displayed for each stock in the portfolio. And as I said before, most of this data is coming directly from your stock selection guides. Everything here in red, these are straight out of the SSGs. If you were to open the SSG, put it next to this report and compare the numbers, they would be identical. Now this green in the middle, this is your portfolio data. And you enter the number of shares you have for a particular stock in a portfolio when you set up your portfolio. So that's where that comes from. And then, of course, the total value and percent of portfolios are calculated for this report. Oh, one other feature I want to talk about is this little PDF icon here. That's the icon that you would use if you wanted to create a PDF of the report, to save it, to print it out, to share it with your friends, your investment buddies, your investment club. This is the same on all of the reports, so I'm only going to mention it here. It is up in the upper right-hand corner of all of the portfolio reports. On this report, you have the ability to sort the rows. You can sort them by anything. By default, they come in by company name, alphabetical. But anytime you see these little double-sided arrows, that's an indication that you can sort these. Once you hit it once, it sorts it in one order, and then you click it again and it will reverse that sort. So this is one way I do like to use it. I'm sorting on the percent of the portfolio just to get an idea of what are my largest holdings versus what are my smallest holdings. I want to know how things are divided up there. So that's a great little tip. Now, the right side of the SSG really has all that valuation data from the SSG, such as your buy below price, your sell above price, your upside downside ratio, total return, and the buy, hold, or sell recommendation straight out of the SSG. And it's a nice summary for all of the stocks that you have in the portfolio. Now here, I am using the sort mechanism again, and I've sorted by total return. I also like to do this quite a bit because this is telling me, well, these are the ones at the top are ones that probably have the best expectations. These are the ones I expect the most return from. At the bottom, well, those are a little bit shy. They're lacking a little bit. So that's another piece of information that you are going to want to pay attention to. I mean, that's basically it. There's nothing else to the report. I encourage you to use it. Now, I made this slide just to give you some thoughts about this sample portfolio, this demonstration portfolio. So just looking at this data, you might consider buying from the top. Remember, we had a 13% total return. So if I have 20+% total return, well, that would improve the overall return of my portfolio. I might consider buying something from maybe these top 4 holdings. But if I look over here at the percent of the portfolio, I see that, well, one of them is 12%, Exos Financial. Well, since that's a pretty full holding, 12% is a pretty good size, I might not be so inclined to add to that piece of my portfolio at this time. I'd be more interested in maybe ACMR or SMLR or AMPH, since these are smaller holdings with a high return. At the other end, you might.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead. I want to thank everybody. Turn this off.
And just like utilizing this particular tool is a sit for us today. I want to thank everybody for joining, and just want to just repeat for those who just.
We're barely able to understand you, Miss Ann.
Joined us. This was the education series. I was just going to just repeat, anybody who's interested in participating in our club, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, just want to just mention again, for anybody who's listening to this on social media, is interested in the club, you can go to Nabwic, that's NABWIC, for National Association of Black Women in Construction. And
You're going in and out. It's not coming across clear.
WIC.org website, and you can read them as a part. I was wrapping up saying thank you. I was closing off the YouTube and the recording.
Yes.
Okay? Saying that?